Welcome, everybody, to Understanding and Working with Electronic Signatures. My name is Renee Thompson. I am the Technology Chair for the Board of Governors for the Florida Bar. And I am joined today by Liz McCausland and Adriana Linares, who are going to be talking with you about all the variations of signature platforms. And we're going to do some demos for you today. So we hope that as you proceed in this webinar that you will ask questions. Take advantage of folks like Liz and Adriana who have a plethora of knowledge on so many topics, but on this one in particular, if you have certain questions, just add them to the chat feature throughout the webinar. Liz and I will watch that feature and try to ask those questions throughout. We are recording this webinar so it can be posted on the Young Lawyers Division website. I want to say a special thank you to the Young Lawyers Division for allowing us to do these technology web shows during this time so that you all can have this information and have access to technology consultants like Adriana. So without further ado, Adriana, if you want to introduce yourself, and Liz, if you want to introduce yourself as well, that would be great.
Okay, go ahead, Adriana.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Adriana Linares. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a legal technology consultant. Always happy to put on these presentations with two of my very dear friends.
And welcome everyone, I'm Liz McCausland. I'm an attorney and mediator in Orlando, Florida. I mediate in 5 different states, so I've been mediating mobily like this for a bit, but mostly by telephone. And I am so excited to be here. This is our last of this series, so we thank all of you who have made it to all of them and who've watched them online. If you have any other questions, we'll talk about our group, the Adaptable Attorney. I think you'll learn so much from Renee and Adriana. I learn something from them every day.
Awesome. I was just reading the comments. I need to refresh my cache.
Everyone needs to refresh their cache.
Right. Cool. So today we're going to talk about understanding and working with electronic signatures. Here's what we're hoping to do. We've got some slides. They're kind of technical. They're kind of boring, but they're information we feel that you should have. And then if we can get through those slides pretty quickly, which we're going to do our very best to do, we're actually going to do some live demonstrations of how DocuSign works, Adobe Sign works, and then I'm also going to show you how to create a digital signature stamp. The easy way and then the more technical way, of course, assuming we have time for all this stuff. So to get started, very obvious uses for electronic signatures in legal or in just day-to-day life. I use them all the time to get my contract signed. So obviously there's a lot of good reasons to use them. What is it? Oops. Renee?
Sure. When you're looking at electronic signatures, folks always want to know what that means. And technically, it's just a way for you to replace your handwritten signature in a virtual process. So while digital signatures are valid and a way in which you can communicate with clients and whomever you're trying to send a handwritten signature to, it just allows you to send it in an electronic format. So it's nothing super complicated. We've been signing things for years. We're just signing a tablet instead. And this way, you know, folks who are trying to prove authenticity can look at those digital documents and say, this person signed it. No different than in the court system when you put a /S and then your signature.
And really, it's a matter of convenience also. It gets things done a little quicker and makes the experience that they have with you have a little less friction. We haven't had to do a lot of this in the past, but with today's current environment, we have to. And so I think some people might probably stick with it because it really does make the transfer of documents and the execution of them so much easier. Now, there are a lot of common concerns when it comes to electronic signatures. You hear questions like, is the person who signed it really the person who they said they were? Can it be forged? Is it legally binding? How do you know if it hasn't been tampered with? And you know, my favorite is, I think it's more real if it's a wet signature.
Is it, Liz?
Adriana loves that term.
Obviously, all the reasons Liz just mentioned are good reasons to use these signatures. They're efficient, they're cost effective, they're traceable, they're time stamped, and they can be more secure than a handwritten signature. I thought this note that I found online was very interesting, that the government of Vermont started enforcing digital signatures for all their government work, and they managed to reduce approval time by 75% through their government processes. So Vermont, your government at work for you. I like it. Okay, so are they more secure? This is one of my favorite stories, and it's now several years old, and I'm so glad I was able to find the slides that I've used several times. Do y'all remember a few years ago, and I wish I knew the date, but this must have been, well, that says, 2013. It's right there on the slide. Okay. In 2013, do y'all remember that there was a story in Florida that these two convicts had been released because of forged orders? So my favorite quote is that the spokesperson for Judge Perry wrote, "We don't know how this happened. Just have no idea how this happened. The origin of the documents is unclear." So basically, somebody typed up a fake order and put a fake signature for Judge Perry on there and just mailed it in. And so these convicts were released. The paperwork, and this is the actual quote from, I think it was the Tallahassee Tribune or whatever the paper in Tallahassee is. "The origin of the documents is unclear. The paperwork was not emailed." So back in 2013, they were citing the fact that the documents had not been emailed. And that's how they don't know how this happened. They may have been mailed or dropped off at the office, right? So how did this happen? And I have a simple slide to show you. Public officials, and some of us who aren't that public, our signatures are everywhere online. So this is Judge Perry's actual signatures from some orders, and all I did was Google his name and find some PDFs, and that was the end of that. And so wet signatures, as you all like to call them and like to claim, are more secure because you know who signed them, and you especially know that you signed them, are actually super easy to lift. So all I did was take these signatures and just use a little bit of technology magic to grab them. I just took a screenshot. I can put them into Photoshop or even PowerPoint, actually, remove the lines, remove the colors behind them, and I've got as good a signature as if Judge Perry had signed my invoice for $1 million himself, approval for my invoice. So I don't want you to think that somehow signed documents are more secure. They might make you feel like they're more secure because you signed it or you watched someone sign it. But the truth is, once a document or your signature gets out into public, it's free game. When it comes to digital signatures, so let's turn the conversation back. What makes them more secure and what types of signatures are there? There's a lot of text on here. We're not going to read it all to you. We're going to let you read it. But just very quickly, there's 3 different types in the world of digital signatures as they are sort of categorized by digital signature companies. Click to sign is when you check a box approving the terms of service for whatever service you're signing up for. That's technically a digital signature, or excuse me, an e-signature, an electronic signature. You're signing this document or this agreement in a way that just basically says, yes, I agree to the terms of this document. They also consider your signature stamp, which that's the term I use. A signature stamp, basically the equivalent of those rubber stamps that many of you have in your secretary's drawers. A digital signature stamp, which is a recreation of your actual signature, is considered an e-signature. The reason is that these are not verified by some third party. The signatures aren't encrypted. When we sign a document with the Microsoft Pen onto Microsoft Word, which we'll also show you how to do, and then convert that to a PDF, that's essentially in the category of an e-signature because a trusted third-party service has not been used to confirm or identify who signed that document. So it's a technical term, but I mean, it's a technicality. It's not that big a deal, but just so you understand, those are called e-signatures. Then they've got what they refer to as basic e-signatures, where now we are bringing in a third party that helps to create technically a digital signature identification, and then they've got the most secure, which are these AES and QES, advanced and qualified signatures. They provide the highest level of assurity and security. And these are the ones that are referred to as digital signatures. Again, because a third party is using encryption, PKI, and to confirm who's signing the document, then the recipient is able to use what is referred to as the public key from the signer in order to verify that that is the person who actually signed the document. So technical, but not necessarily super critical to understand.
And this is to answer some of the concerns about whether or not these are legally binding signatures. We do have a Florida statute that talks about the force and effect of electronic signatures, stating very plainly that electronic signatures can be used just as if handwritten signature. And then, of course, we have some other laws, the U.S. E-Sign Act and the U.S. Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, which states the use for electronic signatures. So if you need just some legal background on how we got where we got to make them legally enforceable, you can look to either of those acts and the Florida statute for assistance.
So back in the old days, which wasn't that long ago, let's say it was a month ago, we used notaries. No, and I'm kidding. They're still, obviously, today's notaries are as good as they were when they were created during Egyptian times. So these digital signing services like DocuSign, HelloSign, Adobe Sign, whichever one you use, as long as it's a legitimate and trusted service, which most of them are, they're basically the equivalent to today's notaries. They solve a lot of these common problems and concerns that we have about who actually signed this document, and is it enforceable, and is it secure, and also, is the document immutable once that digital signature has been applied? And they are. So I don't know if you've ever signed a digital document as a PDF and then noticed that there was a typo and then tried to go back and edit that PDF. Once it has been digitally signed, you can't change it. They have to be recreated and then re-signed. Of course, there's always a way. I'm just going to say this out loud because somebody will email us later and say, someone could print the document and yes, of course. If you allow someone to print a document, any digital security that you have put on that document is basically gone. So, right, if you allow someone to sign a document, print a document and then be able to scan it back in, it's editable. If someone can take a screenshot of a document and recreate it, it's obviously editable. And not to mention that you all in legal tend to use the most popular font on the entire planet that is on every single computer, Times New Roman. And if somebody really wanted to recreate a document, even if they couldn't print it or they couldn't, they're just going to retype it. They're going to say, Susie, start typing. I'm going to read you this document. Make sure it's in times 12, would you? So it's hard to say that every type of digitally signed document or PDF file is secure, because technically there's always a way to get around it. Okay. What else do we have on here? Liz, tell us about Ron's.
Yes. So Ron has just recently come into effect in Florida starting January 1st. And so what Ron is remote online notary. So it's the notarial act without having to be in the presence of the other person. And so I have now become a Ron notary, and I will tell you, it is so much more secure than actually having some random person come into my office with their driver's license, and I take a look at the driver's license and I sign, and I watch them sign, and I press my stamp. They have to go through several processes. So in Florida, you have to sign up to be on a Ron platform. So there are several Ron platforms. I get a lot of questions about the different ones. You have to decide which one is for you and what you intend to do. If you intend to do real estate closings or one-offs or what you decide you're going to notarize. But all of them have the same requirements. They provide the same thing. So you have to be able to have video and audio. You have to be able to have the person show you their government-issued identification versus via the video. And then there's a credential analysis of that ID. And what that means is, at least with my provider, they require them to upload a front and back copy or picture of their ID plus a picture of their face. And they run a check on that ID to see if it is a valid form of identification. And then, so that's the credential analysis. Then they do the identity proofing based on what they call KBA, knowledge-based authentication. If you have ever called, say, your credit card company or anywhere where they start asking you personal questions, like 30 years ago when you lived in Gainesville, which street did you live on? And they run a list of addresses. That is what this is. So before the people even meet with me, they have to go through these 5 personal questions. They have to get 4 of the 5 correct, and they can only try twice in a 24-hour period. I believe they get locked out after they try 4 times because they believe somebody is trying to steal their identity. So it's not for everyone, obviously, because you have to have credit history. You have to have some kind of trace of public record so that those 5 questions can be generated. So if the person's too young or perhaps not a resident of the state and the service you use primarily pulls from the states, this may not work for them. And again, they have to have video and audio. So there are a lot of checks and balances. And then you also have to record the transaction and ask certain questions. So there's a lot that goes into it, much more than a live in-person notary act. So the platform that you use will keep the videos. And so if there's ever any dispute about whether that was the person, you have the entire process on video. And
Great. And Liz, we've got some, I just want to discuss it out loud because it's happening in the chat, just conversations from Judge Tennis about the temporary order from the Supreme Court allowing remote notaries during this unprecedented time. So does either Judge Tennis want to hop on and Liz, I know you sent us the screenshot about that, so either you can discuss it, or if Judge Tennis doesn't mind just giving us a quick rundown so everyone can hear it, especially if they're going to catch the recording later, that would be super helpful.
Well, I just wanted to point out that it's like 2 different things, because we had some conversation myself with the group last week, and they're kind of a similar concept. But the Supreme Court has an order that I'll be sharing later this afternoon. That basically, on a temporary basis, you can do notary by video remotely, and I think it's going to be extremely helpful to us as we move forward with video trials and stuff like that.
Yes, and so there's some question. So this is, Adriana, actually, if you'll go to the next slide, I'll talk about some of that now. There's some question about what that applies to, if it's only oaths or if it also applies to actually the notarizing of documents. The probate documents, the Ron notary approval does not start on probate documents until July 1st. I think it's July 1st, 2020. And so as the state we are in right now, there's a question about whether you can do it. And the Florida Bar Reptile section has actually issued an opinion on that, basically saying no, because the Supreme Court can't, that Ron statute is in the legislation, and the Supreme Court can't legislate, and they can't have the governor issue something that allows the legislation. So the only way that the Florida Bar Reptile section believes that remote notary of probate documents can occur before July 1st is if there's an emergency legislative session. If there is, they're prepared to go forward and request that that be allowed earlier. But for right now, their opinion, at least as to probate documents, is that you cannot do that. And so I've posted their opinion. You're welcome. They know a lot more than me, so you're welcome to take a look at that. If you do decide that you're going to do remote notary through the Supreme Court order, then I would suggest that you still take some of these same precautions. So if you've attended our Zoom webinars, then go on Zoom and record your online video session with that person, just so that you have it in case. It just makes it just one more step secure. And there's certain questions with the RON. You can notarize people who are not in the state of Florida, but you have to be in the state of Florida. And you just have to ask additional questions. In other words, asking them if they're allowing you to put them under oath here in Florida, if they're subjecting themselves to that. So there's a 3-hour course you have to go through, and then you have to get approved to become a RON notary, and you also have to sign up with a RON provider. I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about who I use. I personally am using DocVerify. There's a lot of reasons for that because I don't intend to do real estate closings, but you really just have to look at what's the best for you.
Great. Thanks, Liz.
You're welcome.
There's many ways that you can create a digital signature stamp. So remember, this is different than using an e-signing service that not forces you, but walks you through the steps of sign here, put your initial here and sign here, and it's all just done by typing. There are ways that if you want, and we're going to show you this here in a minute in the live demo, if you want to create a signature stamp of your actual signature to be able to put into either a Word document or a PDF as a not so technical but still formal way to sign a document, we're going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you through Adobe and a little bit of PowerPoint and show you on Word, but there is a really nice tip for Mac users. If you guys are out there, there is a really cool function through Preview. If you're a Mac user, you know what Preview is. You can sign your name on a piece of white paper, and then in Preview, if you've got a PDF in there, you hold up your signature to the camera and it grabs an image of that and then puts it onto your PDF. So I just have it real quick, but if you Google that, you'll get plenty of videos. So you just want to Google Mac add signature with Preview, and you'll be able to find that. But it's a really neat feature. We've used it a few times here and tested it out, so it's pretty neat. But I'm still going to show you just some basic technical stuff about creating a digital signature stamp that's like a rubber stamp of your signature and getting rid of the background so that you can put it over lines in a document. And those are different than the digital signatures that we're also going to demonstrate with DocuSign and Adobe Sign. So we're trying to give you different options for ways to sign your documents. This was our last slide before we get into live demo, so that's good because we've got plenty of time. Oops. Please write down the CLE number, and it's 3924 for this CLE. Also, all of our videos, which this is our fourth one, have been posted, or at least 3 out of the 4, this one will get on there too, on the Young Lawyers Division homepage. Under the CLE tab, you'll see a link for webinars. All of the webinars are there. All of the CLE numbers are listed there. Someone had a really hard time finding it the other day, and it's totally amazing because it's literally on the page. So each webinar has the video and then information underneath it. If you scroll down, the numbers are there as well. So again, for this course, it's 3924. Also, before I forget, we've got our Facebook group that I'll let Liz mention real quick, but also on my website, we've been putting all of the PDFs and lots of other resources for work from home. They are on the same page that we use to put our physical YLD Tech Roadshows. So it's lawtechpartners.com/FLBAR-YLD. At the top of that page, you'll see a link that says click here to jump to work from home resources. That'll take you down to the bottom of the page where we've got these 4 PDFs that we've done for all 4 of our webinars so far, and links to the videos except for today's, which isn't up yet, as well as a bunch of other resources for you. So make sure you visit that page if you need the PDFs or more information. And for now, we're just going to hop off of this. And Liz, do you want to start with Adobe Sign?
Sure. I just wanted to mention real quick, if we don't get through everything, then we will try to post some of it onto the Adaptable Attorney website.
Adaptable.
Oh, sorry, Adaptable.
We're adoptable too. That's okay.
Adaptable. Anybody want to adopt us? Sorry. Okay.
And hold on, Renee asked me to put the other slide up with the logos on it. So let me grab that real quick for her. Was there something you wanted to say about that, Renee?
I just wanted folks to see the different providers that are out there with regard to e-signatures. I think it's important for them to know there's not only Adobe Sign, but DocuSign, HelloSign. There's so many different providers.
And while she's doing that, which because I can't see because now I've got this.
I can't do it because somehow I deleted that slide.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, the important thing to know is this. You've got to choose what's right for you for what you use. So look to see if your platforms that you use, your case management software, your whatever you use, integrates with one of these platforms. And if it doesn't tell you on their website, then go to Zapier, and see if there's a way to integrate the two. And that should be pretty easily done. Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
It's just starting to share.
Okay.
So we're going to demonstrate Adobe Sign, DocuSign. They both have very good competitors, whether you're using Nuance, Power PDF, HelloSign, whatever they are. But they're all going to work about the same. So our goal here is really just to give you a rundown, a quick preview of what it looks like when you use one of these services. Just know that they're all very similar. And we don't have one over the other. The only reason I use DocuSign is because I get 10 free signatures a month with my G Suite subscription. I have Adobe Acrobat that I pay for, so sometimes if I'm already in an Adobe document, I send it through Adobe Sign. I don't know that any of us can tell you one is better than the other, but basically what Liz said, which is use what you have, use what integrates with your platform, or ask your peers if there's one that's better over the other. I think you're going to find that most people say it. I just
I would say Adobe Sign is included in your Adobe Acrobat Pro DC subscription. But if you do not have Adobe Acrobat Pro DC, Adobe Sign is offering a 90-day small business promotion right now. So you can use it for the next 3 months, regardless of whether you have this platform.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I have it. I do a lot, especially just yesterday, I had a client who's had to send me everything digitally because we're not open. And so he gave me everything in one 70-page document, and with Adobe, I was able to break that up into the different things. Now, if you can see my screen, you can see where I just clicked Adobe Sign there on the left-hand side. It will now take me to another screen where I will add the signers, and that is just by email. Hopefully this doesn't take too long because my internet is not the fastest. But what it'll ask me to do is add the signers. So I'll put their signature in here. I'm sorry, I'll put their email in here. Then I will go to the document and I will specify where I need a signature. So there are different types of fill-ins that you can do. You can do initials, signatures, dates, all kinds of things. And there's even a way to just have them fill in something themselves. So for instance, those of you who are notarizing or doing the run, you might need a driver's license. So there's a way to there's a way to fill that in the jurat box. So they'll do that, and then you'll send it. And since it seems to be getting locked up, it seems to be not even circling on my end. But,
it's tired, Liz. It's tired.
So am I. Oh, here we go. It's starting, I think. So once that happens, it will get sent to the person. That person will click to sign, and then it immediately closes them out. It comes to me. I get a notice that says they've signed. I get the document, and how it shows up is it will say that Renee, for instance, Renee Thompson's name, and then it'll say digitally signed. It'll give the date, the time, and information that lets me know it is a valid signature by Renee. And unfortunately, as I suspected, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because it's just not going to show it to you today. Okay, great.
Adriana, you might be able to show it quicker.
Yeah, I can show it. We'll do a couple of different things here. So let me grab the screen back, the screen share. And let's see, we're going to go over here. All right, so let's start with a Word document. I'm going to bring my Word document over here. So this is using DocuSign. When you have a DocuSign account, you can add the add-in for DocuSign. So you'll notice that in my toolbar, and can you guys see that okay? Do you see my Word document? Okay. Yep. You'll notice that in my toolbar, I've got a DocuSign tab, and I have an Adobe Acrobat tab, because those are both services that I have. The DocuSign tab, how did I get that in here? So I don't know if y'all have figured this out yet, but Microsoft Office has apps. Just like your iPhone and your Android has apps that you can download and install to enhance the use of your phone. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook do that now too. And they are part of, and you pull them from the Microsoft Store. So just like there's the App Store and the Google Play Store, there's a Microsoft Store. So the way you get that signature service installed into Word is you go to Insert, which I know is weird, but you go to Insert and you're going to look for the button that says Get add-ins. It used to say store, I think, but the newest and the latest version of Office, which I have Office 365, which means I always have the latest version of these services. So the latest version, it says get add-in. And yes, they exist on the Mac as well. So I'm going to click get add-ins, and it takes me into basically a store where I can search for add-ins that are available. Side note, I suggest you guys do this just in general because there's a lot of cool and interesting services in here. But what you do is I would search for DocuSign because that's the one I want. But I've seen HelloSign in here, and a couple of the others are in here as well. So you see I've got DocuSign for Word, and here's another one, Sign Now, e-signature service. You'll also notice that it tells me that this may require additional purchase. So it's not free, you have to have an account. I happen, as I mentioned, to say I use G Suite and Office 365, so because of my paid subscription to G Suite, one of the benefits that I get from that is 10 signatures per month through DocuSign. So I clicked add, and that's how you would add any add-in or any app into any of the Microsoft programs. Once it's in here, now I've got the tab for DocuSign, which I basically ignore till I'm ready to send this document off for signature. So I've got my whole document, it's ready, I've filled in who I'm going to send it to. Renee Thompson, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to go down here. And you'll notice that my signature is already in here. And this is the other thing I'm going to show you how to do. Mine's a digital signature stamp of my signature, right? So I would do something like just make sure I've got Renee's name in here. And just, again, have it ready for signing. Oh, sorry, Renee, misspelled your name. Okay. Once it's ready, I'm going to click DocuSign. And by the way, I also have on here, because I'm an Adobe Acrobat user, Request Signatures is baked right into Word as well. So if you're a Nuance user, you should have this from a Nuance perspective. If you're a HelloSign user, you should be able to figure out how this service works or how these add-ins work the same. Back to DocuSign. So when I click on DocuSign, I've got 3 choices in the toolbar that comes up. Sign the document myself. Technically, I have with my quote wet signature, but what I want to do is request settings. Now, the first time you go to do this, it's going to ask you to log into your account, which I've already done. So it's basically ready. I'm going to click request signatures. This bar opens up on the right, and it's DocuSign letting me know, hey, we're grabbing your document, we're pushing it out of Word and into our servers. So basically, I just click next. Now, DocuSign opens. And by the way, had I gone to DocuSign first, I could have just dragged my Word or my PDF document into a DocuSign window, and I'd still end up basically in the same place. So there's 2 ways, at least, to get to this point right here. It's either from directly inside Word, the way I just did, or you would go straight to DocuSign. So here you can see what it's done is it's got a preview of my document, my agreement. I could upload more documents or get from the cloud, so you can actually synchronize DocuSign. Again, it's other competitors probably, to Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive. So there's really a lot of ways to integrate your documents and make this easy. In this case, because I sent it from Word, it's already sitting here. So then I put in who I'm going to send this to. I'm going to send it to Renee Thompson. I'm not going to send it to Liz because her computer is not going to work.
No.
And Renee, I hadn't thought about this, but will you actually get this and walk us through the signing process when I send it?
Sure.
Okay. So I've put in Renee's name and her email. You can also set the signing order. So if I need 4 people, 4 officers to sign the document, first the CEO, then the CFO, then the CIO, and then whoever, I set the signing order, and DocuSign takes the burden of passing the document to each person in that order after everyone has signed. So I could set a signing order. I don't need to do that because Renee's the only person that's going to sign this document. And then it says here that, yes, she needs to sign. I could also CC a copy of the document as it's getting signed and once it's finished to another party. I can allow them to edit that PDF along the way if I want. And then I can also do a quick update to recipients if I miss someone or need to resend. There's more options here. I can add access authentication and or a private message. So there's a lot going on here, and I encourage you to spend some time going through these settings and options before you just launch into loading it. Then I would have a message, agreement consulting, hello.
While you're doing that, Adriana, I'll just explain too that what I said about integrating with your current software, think about how you could utilize this. When I have someone make an appointment, I send them typically a free consultation agreement. So I can now send that, automate that email, attach a document for them to click and sign, and then I will know before I meet with them that they have given me, that they've read it and signed it, whereas in the past, before I had these programs, I would have had to send it to them, have them sign it, and either bring it with them and they'd forget, and we'd have to do a new one, or they'd have to fax it or email it somehow beforehand. So this just takes that little bit of friction out and kind of ensures a smoother process.
Okay. So then I'm going to click next because I'm going to now tell the document where I want Renee to initial, date, sign. So I'm going to click next. Puts a preview of my document in here for me, and let me go ahead and maximize this so you guys can see it a little bit better.
And just anybody who's watching, this is the same exact way it works in Adobe Sign. She's going to drag over.
So these are my fields that they make available to me. So when I send out an agreement, I want someone to initial every page. So I grab the initial field from the navigation panel. I want them to initial here. And then now I'm going to basically recreate my signature block using these fields. So I need Renee's signature here. So I'm just going to drag that in. She'll sign here. And if you want, you can sort of stretch it out, make it bigger, but it's going to work no matter what. You'll see that I have the date under mine, my name, and my company name. So now I'm going to grab the date signed field and put that here. I'm going to ask her to type out her full name and put that here. And I'm going to ask her to put the name of her company. You can also include text box, check boxes, drop downs. Like I'm certifying this because blah, 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 and have a checklist of options, or a radio button where they're choosing one of several options. Then when I'm done tagging it, which is essentially what I've done, I've tagged it with the fields where Renee is going to sign off on it. I can just hit send. There are some formatting options here. There's some labels that I can change. I can include tool tips, like make sure your husband signs here, not you. And so when it's all done, I'm just going to click send, and they're going to take care of sending that off to Renee. So one of the ways that I'm verifying, hopefully, that it's Renee that's going to sign that document is it's going to her email address. So I'm going to assume and really believe that when I email it to someone, it's them who's going to be opening and signing the document. This does not require Renee to sign to use some sort of third-party encryption service. It's basically one of those click-to-sign options where I'm just letting her sign it and getting the document back from my third-party provider. Okay, so Renee is going to get that document, and then we'll switch to her screen when she's ready to sign. Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, while she's ready to do that, for those of you who are going to use a remote online notary, they're going to have to do the same thing with your document. They're going to have to tell that remote online platform where the signature goes, where a date goes, where initial goes. So if it's not evident on the document that you send them, for instance, that you need it initialed on every page, then you're going to need to tell them, or add it to your PDF is really the best way to do it. And then when you send it to the notary, they'll know that those fields need to go there.
Okay.
So I received your email that said that you sent me a document, and it gives me that option to review. And I don't have DocuSign on this computer, so this is good to show people kind of what you would see even if you don't have DocuSign on the other side.
Great.
I have to check this to agree to use electronic records and signatures. Here's the little note that you sent me right here at the top.
Perfect.
and I hit continue to start the signing process. I hit start. It takes me to initials here, and you can just use whatever initial key that you want to use. It says select a style if you want to do that. That's fine.
And wait, Renee, before you click that, oops, sorry. Can you click it again? Does it let you go back?
It didn't. Hang on.
That's okay. We'll do it on the next one. I just want to show how you can actually, so they give you some sample signatures and initials, but you can do your own scribble with a pen or with your finger, and it should let you do it on this next one.
Okay.
So you're filling in the fields, the date, your name. There you go.
And it signed it for me because it used it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. We could do another one, or y'all will just notice if you do this and send one to yourself as a test, it does have the option to use one of its predefined sort of scribbles and signatures, or you can actually sign it yourself with a pen or with your finger. Okay, great.
And then you'll click finish, and
it emails it back to Adriana.
Yep, it'll email it back to me, letting me know that Renee Thompson my document has been completed, and it's also going to attach a copy of that PDF file. You'll notice on Renee's screen, it's giving you the DocuSign envelope ID. By the way, that's what DocuSign calls a document. Every time it goes out, it calls it an envelope. So with my free subscription, I get 10 envelopes or 10 signs a month.
So there's a question. Oh, go ahead.
I would say I can decline to sign it too. See if I hit this, or I can hit finish later, which means I still want to read it.
And so Christina Alvarez asked, is it okay to file the signature confirmation page with the court? That, I think, is going to be a better question maybe for some of the judges on the line, but I don't see where it would hurt. But since it is the very first page, I know what you mean, Christina, instead of printing it, if you had something like Adobe DC, you could extract just that page and create a new PDF without printing it. So that's one of the benefits of having a full package like that. But Nuance does it. I'm sure there's other programs that do it the exact same way as well.
What about initialing certain parts of the agreement inside of the agreement? I just showed how that worked. You just drag the field to wherever you want somebody to initial it. Let's say there was a paragraph that you want them to initial confirming that they saw this change. You just drag the field right next to that paragraph. Just like I had Renee sign the bottom of each page just now, you can put those tags to have the signature happen or the initial happen wherever you want. It's entirely up to you as the sender of the document. Okay, I'm going to grab the screen back and show a couple more things in Word that are similar but different. So when I was showing my signature a few minutes ago, you may have noticed that I had my actual signature already in the document ready to go. Where did I get this? I'm going to show you how to create one of these yourself if you want it for a different type of signature, which this is one of those click to sign, just basic signatures. The thing that I want to make sure you understand is with a PDF file and with a Word document like this one, when you put something on top of that document, an object of sorts, it is movable. So in this case, my signature image of my signature is really just a little JPEG. It's no different than putting a picture of a palm tree or my firm logo on here. You don't ever want to send a Word document out with something like this, not because someone's going to steal it. I mean, they can copy it and move it, and that's fine. But my concern is always that someone, and especially in a PDF file, if you don't flatten it, which I will talk about in just a second when we get to PDF files, someone can just flick accidentally this image from one place to another. So make sure with Word documents, if you're going to do something like this, that you save it as a PDF before you send it out. And PDF files, by the way, when we do use the custom stamp like this, it's the same thing. You want to make sure to flatten the image into the document. Again, not so much so someone can't copy your signature. You saw how I was able to do it with Judge Perry's signature very easily, but more so that someone doesn't accidentally flip it out of its intended location. Okay, so the way I did this was I took a scanned image of my signature and created a digital stamp for myself. So I'm just going to delete this for just a moment to show you that if you have the latest version of Word, and probably the last 2 versions, I'm not even sure, but at least the latest, you can always go to Draw, and you'll see that under the Draw ribbon, okay, there's different pens that I can choose. So why don't I choose this pen, and I will choose a blue color. And if you have a Surface tablet, or actually any pen, or even an iPad, and the actual pen, you know, a little physical pen, this is so cool because I'm going to do it with my mouse. So I know it's going to look terrible, but you can also just do it with a pen or with your thumb if you've got touchscreen. So once I have signed it like this, all I'm going to do if I want to send it is, well, first of all, if I'm using DocuSign, it's going to flatten it for me. If I choose to request a signature through Adobe Acrobat, it's also going to flatten it. But sometimes you just want to sign your Word document so that you can email it to a client. You're not necessarily requesting someone else's signature. So in this example, let's pretend I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of this. I've now actually wet signatured my document, and I'm just going to save it as a PDF file. File, save as, make it a PDF, and it's as if I had printed it, signed it, scanned it, and have it as a PDF file. All right, next tip. Let's bring up Acrobat now. So how do I capture my signature as a stamp so that I can use it for either a Word document, the way I just showed you, or inside of a PDF? The first thing you do is you sign your name on a white piece of paper. And again, this is only if you don't have a pen or a touchpad or some nice way of just going straight to ink, digital ink. This is if you've got other technology. But I like to have these stamps because they're handy. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So what I do is I take a big white piece of paper, and if I'm doing this for an attorney, I have them sign 3 or 4 times. Sometimes some of them will sign 10 times, so they've got the perfect signature. But then you scan it in, and then you put it in Adobe. And by the way, please don't email me later and telling me there's another way to do this. There are probably 100 different ways to do this. I'm going to show you one, and I know what they all are, so you don't have to tell me. But yeah, this is just one easy, common way. So now what I need to do is I need to take the signature off of this paper after I've scanned it. The fastest and easiest way to do that, Acrobat has the ability to do a screen snap of a part of a document, but I also just want to show you all how to use Snip and Sketch because it comes with Microsoft Office. It's their latest screen snipping service. So all you're going to do to find it is do a search on your start menu for the word snip. When I pull up Snip and Sketch, this little app comes up. It says, okay, I'm going to take a new snip. Now I'm going to draw a rectangle around my signature and making sure that I don't grab any of those extra lines. My signature lines that I create when I'm having other people sign. I tell them sign kind of big inside this space and don't touch the lines. So now I'm just going to minimize that. You can see here that what I've captured is ultimately just a screenshot of my signature. So I can go now and I can just save it. Okay, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop, call it AlSig. Okay, now I'm going to close it. I'm going to close this PDF. I'm going to bring Word back. I mean my PowerPoint. Oh, sorry, let me bring Word back up. Rats, I closed it.
For those of you, while we're waiting, who you can also do this snippet by just using your Windows key, your Shift key, and S. That's a quick, and then it'll give you that same box that you can just draw around.
It's right here. Okay, so after I saved it from Snip and Sketch, I saved it onto my desktop. And it's right here. It's just an image. Again, it could be a pineapple or a puppy. It doesn't matter. It's just an image. And I can drag it onto Word. When I do that, I have to typically manipulate it a little bit. Oh, I don't know how I kept the box around it. Pretend I didn't keep the box around it. And I can get rid of that too. Another just good tip to know how to do. Anytime you've got a picture, you can go to picture format and choose crop. And I guess I just have my snip and sketch set up to put a border around stuff. I think I do, because typically I'm doing like, you know, how-tos and stuff. Okay.
And I have, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, Liz.
I was going to say, I have a signature like this, and I've actually created a keyboard shortcut in Windows. You know how you can auto-correct things? So I type I typed X, S-I-G, and it'll auto-correct that, like it auto-corrects spelling, and put my signature.
Yep, great tip. So whenever you drop an image into a Word document, by default, it wants to wrap text above and below it. So a tip for you in learning to deal with signatures or any image in Word, you're going to go to the little pop-up that comes up to the right, and I'm going to change this to on top. Which one is it? Not tight, not square, through. I'm going to change this to the option for through, where then it lets me place that image. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong option. Lets me place the image. It's actually under See More, Text Wrapping. There we go. And so now I can put it wherever I want, right? The problem is, without further manipulation, you end up with the white background from the paper, right? Because all I did was capture a screenshot, including the white background. So this might work enough. I mean, I could manipulate it and move the signature block and all that stuff. And hey, this works. And now I say this is a PDF file. Looks exactly like I signed it. If you want to go the extra mile and get rid of that white background, a very quick and easy way to do that is to use PowerPoint. So I'll bring PowerPoint up real quick. I'm going to minimize this. And PowerPoint has a cool, and actually Adobe does this as well, built in, but not all of you might have Adobe. So I've just got a plain Word document here, and I'm going to do the same thing I did a second ago, which is just drag my little signature image on here. And then when you're on an image in PowerPoint, you can go to the picture format option, and then you'll see that there is a remove background button. So first, because I've got the borders turned on, I'm going to crop it. Never mind that I cropped the top off. For training purposes, we're going to leave it. It's no big deal. All right. Actually, I can bring it back. Okay. Then you select the little image, go to remove background, and it's giving me a choice here. You can see mark areas to keep, mark areas to remove. So I need to mark my areas to keep. Sorry. Ugh. And this takes a little bit of work sometimes. This is not a good screenshot. But let's pretend. Then I would keep it. Oops, I deleted a little too much. Okay, when you're done manipulating it, let's pretend that's my signature. You're going to right-click on it and save it as a picture. It's important that once you've removed the background, you save it as a PNG. The PNGs have transparent backgrounds. If you choose a JPEG or a GIF, it's going to leave the white. So you have to choose a PNG. All right. Now, final tip. Once you have created your PNG and it's got a transparent background, if you have Acrobat, you can go to Stamps. So now I'm in Acrobat. You'll see an option to create a custom stamp. Custom stamp, create. I'm going to go grab one of those PNGs. Where did it go? Hold on, I hear my computer. Oh, rats. Sorry, here comes net documents. Let me get rid of that. Sorry. Okay, I've got, let me go find them real quick.
Oh, I saw it at the top there.
No, I got them all right here.
Okay.
I'm trying to find, so I just wanted to show everyone. that I have a bunch of my signatures already saved as PNGs. So I've got one in green, I've got my full name in orange. You know, I've just, over time, I've grabbed a bunch of these. So I'm going to grab this orange one, which all I did was screen capture, put into PowerPoint, remove background, save as a PNG. Once I've saved it as a PNG, I can go to Acrobat, create a custom stamp, click OK. So now I can create a category, and I usually call these Al Sigs, and this is one that I call full sig, so my full signature. Sometimes I have one with just my name, then I've also got ones that are just my initials. So then I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to close this document and open something that actually requires my signature. So I could either go that formal, technical, digital signature route with fill and sign, fill it out and sign my document. Or if I really just need to drop my signature in here and send it back, I'm going to go back to stamps, go to stamp, and you'll see here I've got a whole section. Here's Al Sigs. So whichever one I want, I'm going to click on it. I don't have to fill in all that detail, but you can. And then it gets attached to my mouse, and I drop it where I want. So the final step, because as I mentioned when we were talking about objects that are getting put on top of a PDF file, I need to flatten this. And the reason I say that is, again, someone can steal my signature. It's all over the planet. That's one thing. But what I don't want is as someone is scrolling through my document that they flip it with their mouse and move it onto the wrong place. Plus, it's amateur hour when this happens. So the way Acrobat flattens, and this is the term you'll want to use if you're going to Google this, is I can do a search for the word flatten in my tools. And it's also just a security setting. So sometimes under Nuance and under Acrobat, it's under security. Then when I run this flattener, it's just a little service. And I can flatten it. And also, remember, you can also save things as PDFAs, which means they're not going to be changeable. So anyway, I flatten it, and now it warns me that operation can't be undone. And now my signature has been tattooed into the document, and it's flat. Okay, I know that was a lot of information really fast and a lot of different choices, especially between digital signatures and something like a digital signature stamp, as I call it, when it's an image of your own signature. What questions do we have?
Adriana, if you use one of the sign documents options, if I use DocuSign or Adobe Sign, and I get back that PDF, how do I make that a PDFA?
You just file save as PDFA.
Right in the document itself, it'll do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And two, when you go to create, let's say you are going to use one of the digital signatures themselves, like from Fill and Sign or DocuSign, you do have the option to create your signature with the logo from the service, but also your actual signature is part of that stamp.
And for those of you who don't have any of these programs but want to have your signature and you're on maybe a phone or an iPad, I'll post to the Adaptable Attorney group how you can store your signature in your phone. So if anyone sends you a PDF to sign, then you can just open it, put your signature right there, size it however you need to, and then send it to them. But that'll always be stored in your phone. And that's sometimes helpful to teach other people if you're out and about and they ask you for a printer to print something so they can sign it.
All right. Can you save your signature in Adobe? Yes, that's what I was just saying. So someone was asking, can you save your signature in Adobe so you can use it under Fill and Sign? Yeah, when you go to create your digital identity, it's going to ask you if you want to upload an image of your own signature, and that's where that little PNG comes in handy. But that little PNG file comes in handy for Word documents, for PowerPoint documents. If you wanted to, you could put it in your email. I've seen a lot of people that do that. I don't believe in fancy email signatures. They get all chewed up and weird depending on who's receiving my email. So if you want to put images and if you want to sign your emails with your own name, Adriana, then that's another cool and easy reason to have those little PNG files handy. I will put real quick up here one last time the page that has the CLE number for this, and also our Facebook page. Here's a shortcut to it. You can type in bit.ly/adapt, ATTY, for Adaptable Attorney. The Facebook page is actually the Adaptable Attorney. I don't understand why when people just search Adaptable Attorney, it doesn't come up, stupid Facebook, but it doesn't. Apparently everyone has trouble finding it, so you can put in the Adaptable Attorney and hopefully find it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Hope that was helpful for everyone. If you have any other questions, you know how to get a hold of us. Please meet us on our Facebook group if you are on Facebook. And otherwise, we've put the resources from today's presentation and previous presentations at lawtechpartners.com/FLBAR-YLD. And all of our videos from this is the final in our series on work from home can be found on the Young Lawyers Division homepage under CLE, under webinars.
Yes, Judge Dennis, you probably have a ton of orders to go sign.
Get to signing, lady. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Thanks for joining
Thank you,
us.
guys.
Take care. Thank you.